We now give you the fox, Jim Northrup, whose triple off Bob Gibson gave the Tigers the 1968 World Series. Forgive his dog for getting into the act. He couldn't help himself. Jim, you played 10 years for the Tigers from 64 to 74, and you did something that few players ever did. You played right field, center field, and left field. And, I just like your perspective on what it was like playing there and what that ballpark meant to you.
Well, when I was a kid and came to Tiger Stadium, I had seen some games because Ted Williams was my favorite player. My dad used to bring me down once a year to see Ted play, but that was a 5.5-hour, 6-hour trip. There were no expressways.
From where?
From St. Louis, Michigan.
Okay.
So it was a long haul. But he always brought me down and to see Ted once a year whenever we could. And I'd never been on the field, but the magnificence of the green impressed me. But when you're down there and there's nobody in the stands, or even if the stands, and you're actually on that field, it's an experience. Here's a kid off a farm, has never been more than practically a cow pasture for a ballpark, and now I walk into, of course, my first stadium was Yankee Stadium. And I'll tell you something, that was really something because, when the biggest buildings I ever saw were silos. To walk into Tiger Stadium, you're a kid, you've always listened to the games, and you never thought you'd ever be on that field to play Major League Baseball.
I think your dogs want to be into it. Dogs, what do you think? You want to get over and say something? I guess we should play a commercial about now.
But anyway, when you go to Tiger Stadium and even where you see now kids run around the bases, who really wants to be there? The kids, but the fathers get on the field. That's a big deal to them.
Yes.
I would have been better off in another stadium.
Why do you say that?
Because it's 440 feet in center field, and I hit the ball straight away. I hit a lot like Carl Yastrzemski. Had I played in Boston or Wrigley Field or any field where it wasn't, a cab ride to center field, I would lose at least 10 home runs a year in Detroit.
What about the night that you guys won it with Don Wirth's single to right field in 1968? K-Line scored from third. The people went crazy. What do you remember about that night in Tiger Stadium?
We went crazy in the locker room. Guys were flipping over in the whirlpool and throwing Mayo Smith. They put shaving cream on his head and threw him in there. It's the first time Jim Campbell and John Fetzer ever came in the locker room.
Well, you threw Fetzer in there.
Well, yeah. Well, everybody was fair game. We were having fun, and he was the owner, and I think he really enjoyed it because I don't think he'd ever been around anything that was celebrated as much as that, and I think for John and Jim Campbell it was a lifelong dream, although I'm sure Mr. Fetzer was thinking more in terms of his investment. But once he got his nose into it, he was a baseball fan, and to win a World Series while he owned the club, or to get in a World Series, had to be a big thrill for him, as it was the players.